sent it to me. She didn't include me, so you should have just.
Good evening and welcome to the January school board meeting. Welcome, and please join me in item 1.1, the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Moving on to 2.0 consent agenda. Item 2.1 roll call. Please note that all members are present. Item 2.2 conflicts of interest. Are there any conflicts of interest to declare? Okay, seeing none, moving to 2.3 review and approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to review and approve the agenda.
Thank you. And is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. There's been a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item 2.3 has been approved. Item 2.4, approve the minutes from the December 14th, 2020 meeting.
Move to approve those minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Hardy. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Ms. Moulton. Any comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Item 2.4, the minutes have been approved. Item 2.5, receive the financial reports for December 2020. Ms. Clausen.
In the taxing funds of general capital outlay and special education, revenue received included the typical December tax proceeds along with moderate interest income. State aid payments were received in the funds of general and special education. Expenditures were moderate in general fund, with the payroll expenditures including the final payment of the approved CARES payroll supplement package. The general fund ending cash balance of $8.9 million creates an influx over previous years due to the receiving of the CARES allocations in previous months. Expenditures exceeded revenue significantly in capital outlay due to a construction in progress payment in the amount of $630,212. Special education saw revenue slightly over expenditures with the receiving of federal revenue in support of IDEA. The moderate revenue received in the fund of Lake Area Tech consists of sources received in relation to tuition, state support, sales, interest, and other revenue. Payroll expenditures of $1.5 million included the CARES payroll supplement package for Lake Area Technical College as approved with a December 15th payment. The ending cash position of this fund reflects improvement at $8.1 million. Lake Area Technical College Bookstore saw expenditures over revenue due to the replenishment of inventory and a decline in student activity over the holiday break. The same can be said for Lake Area Technical College Food Service, in which a $10,000 transfer was necessary to accommodate a negative cash balance. Activity in both of these funds is expected to increase through the month of January as students are back on campus. The operation of Lake Area Tech's Educare daycare program saw a net increase in cash and an ending cash balance well improved compared to the prior 2 years. On the K-12 enterprise side, the Nutrition Service Fund received a significant payment of federal revenue as associated under the SSO operation of providing free meals to students. This will continue throughout the entire school year. Arena concessions saw revenue exceeded by expenditures for the month, and this fund, when compared to the prior 2 years, reflects a slight decline due to the amount transferred to capital outlay in the prior year. The operation of the district's employee benefit trust continues to reflect a positive trend with continued increase of month-end cash balances. Detailed information regarding the calendar year-end financials of this fund will be provided at February's board meeting. I would be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Ms. Clausen. Are there any questions? Okay, appreciate that. Moving on. Staff and student recognition, item 2.6. Dr. Danielson.
Hello, we're excited. We've got some state oral interp awards. These were done remotely this year on December 4th and 5th, 2020. We received a Team Excellence Award. And again, I remind the audience that for this school year anyway, we have not had students in to be recognized, but we certainly want to give them their due recognition here at the school board meetings. So participating and receiving the Team Excellence Award, Riley Buckland, Noelle Dunn, Aaron Hurdle, Garrett Von Eye, Skylar Kuhlman, Brittany Briggs, Vivian Hughes, Carter Canfield, Megan Outland, and Andrew Dalkey. We also had 4 individual superior ratings in the humorous interp, Noelle Dunn, in the duo interp, Garrett Von Eye, in storytelling, Brittany Briggs, and in readers theater, Andrew Dalkey. Congratulations to our oral interpreters.
Yes, congratulations. And again, we're sorry we can't have you here, but we recognize them all the same. Okay, item 3.1. Is there anyone from the public to provide input on agenda or non-agenda items for Lake Area Technical College? Okay, item 4.0 and 4.1.1, the resignations under personnel. Welcome, Dr. Cartney.
Good evening.
President Cartney.
Good evening. Lake Area Tech has no resignations this month.
Thank you. Item 4.1.2, contract recommendations and addendums.
Yes, ma'am. You have in front of you a fairly typical list of contract recommendations and addendums for this year. As we start into this new semester with additional students, we request your approval of those recommendations and addendums.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the contract recommendations and addendum.
Thank you, Mrs. Reiber.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Stein. Any comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item 4.1.2 has been approved. Item 4.1.3, stipend requests.
Yes, ma'am. You have in front of you 3 stipend requests for instructors that are carrying on their higher education. Request your approval of those those stipend requests.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. We've got a motion and a second. Is there any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, items 4.1.3 has been approved. Item 4.1.4, consider FFCRA local extension.
Yes, ma'am. Lake Area Tech did not extend the Family First Corona Relief Act leave that was offered through the local Family First Corona Relief Act leave that you approved at the September board meeting. We request the authority to extend the leave granted under that through the state of emergency or to June 30th of this year, whichever is sooner. This does not grant an additional pool of leave, but extends the granted 80 hours or FTE equivalent to Lake Area Tech personnel. This extension is estimated to cost $50,000 in relation to the rate of hourly leave time. So we request your approval of the request for the Family First Corona Relief Act leave.
Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Stein. Is there a second? Thank you, Mrs. Reiber. We've got a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? Okay, seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, item 4.1.4 has been approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to discussion items for 14.4, item 5.1. Is there any public input on agenda or non-agenda items for the Watertown School District, K-12? Okay, seeing none. 5.2 is Northeast Technical High School report. Dr. Danielson.
Thanks. A little quieter January, I think, for Northeast Tech. We had some big items here prior to the new year, but so we did not have a superintendent's meeting this month, And the next meeting of the full Northeast Tech Board would be next Wednesday, the 20th at 5:45 at Northeast Tech, if you can make that, so.
Okay. Item 5.3, budget calendar.
Yes, the proposed 2022 budget calendar is provided for your review. The dates coincide with the dates of the prior year's budget development and the dates outlined in state statute. Please take note that April 26, 2021 will be the date in which the board will meet in special session to review and discuss the proposed budgets of both K-12 and Lake Area Tech.
Thank you. Item 5.4, high school course registration booklet. Let's see, we've got 2 people here, is that correct? Okay, welcome Mrs. Walker and Mr. Bransford.
Thank you. You saw this slide in the summer. How's that? You saw this slide in the summer. What I'm going to do tonight is give you an update on that report that I typically give in August or September, because we pushed our PE adoption a little bit because of the strange summer we had, and so I'm going to update you on a few of those things that we did. Specifically, this fall, we met to do some revisions of the PE 9 through 12. We've already adopted K-12 health, and we focused a lot of those efforts on socially emotional learning. And so this fall, we were working on specifically the 9 through 12 courses and the course adoption, some changes in their structure of what they wanted to offer. So I'm going to update you on those today. This graphic shows you the 2018 graduation requirements as adopted by the state. And I enlarged the part about the physical education. It is required that that all South Dakota graduates have a half a unit or half a credit of physical education, and also a half credit of health or health integration. What we have done with integrated health is that in grades 6 through 8, students who have come through the Watertown School District, when they enter grade 9, their integrated health is transcribed on their transcript as a pass-fail. They do not receive a grade for it, and they do not receive credit for it, but it does count towards the graduation requirements for the state, and that's in line with those graduation requirements. If students transfer in without that integrated health, they do need to do a health half credit at our high school, and we have a couple options of how they can do that. But students do still need a full half credit of physical education in grades 9 through 12. So those physical education requirements, this is from the book, the bullets that you would see on the handout that I included in the packet, but our graduates must earn a half credit of physical education. They can choose to enroll in up to 2 courses each year, not more than 1 at a time is our goal, and there are no prerequisites. They could be taken in any order. And so one of the things that we worked on as a department is how to restructure some of those offerings to better meet that physical education component. Students have been taking, we called it integrated fitness, and it was about half health and half PE, but really it was not meeting that half credit of physical education or the fitness component. And because they already met their integrated health in 6 through 8, we wanted to refocus that half credit at the high school as a fitness option or physical education specifically. There's a few rationale for that proposal. Of course, to promote fitness and health opportunities for our students, that's always a goal. Reconfiguring mostly existing options. A lot of what you'll see is kind of repackaged in just different configurations to hopefully better attract students to those courses. The goal was to increase choice for students and therefore their engagement, targeting specific interest areas, and then an effort to better utilize our PE staff and keep those course numbers more consistent and more equalized. And so the courses that are will be in the registration booklet that you'll look at are listed on the screen here. Some of these were offered in the past, and some are brought back in kind of a different way. We talked at length at department that if the sections don't meet, size-wise, then we'll have to configure, but you never know what will stick until you try it. And so these are the courses. They're very much in line with what we see other schools doing. We kind of did a comparison of what other schools offer at their high schools, and these would be very similar to different things that schools are offering. We did leave, so all of those up to the last health education would meet that PE requirement because they have the physical fitness education component to them. The health education class would not meet that PE requirement because it is the health piece. It would be available for anyone who would move in, any transfer students, but it also would be another elective for students who just want to do more in the health field. It would be a lot of those health concepts. And so it would be just an open elective for grades 9 through 12. There are a few other course changes that we made into the registration booklet, and I'll specifically highlight those. Computer animation was changed to explorations in creative computing. You'll notice that as we've gone through the last couple reviews, we've added a course called Explorations in English, or reading, explorations in science, and with the idea that it's modular, where students can do some more choice of what they can help kind of design what their pathway looks like. And so that's what is happening with computer animation. The instructor changed this year, and he has taught computer animation this year, but he wanted to broaden it a little bit to have a few more opportunities for students, so it's not just animation. And so it includes that with some other programming and web design, and so we would like to change that course name to Explorations in Creative Computing. We changed the name of the Student Teaching Partnership because it gets confusing with our college student teachers versus our high school student teachers, and so that will be called the Classroom Internship. Those will be the high school students that go to our elementary buildings and work as, assist in those classrooms. And then German 3 and 4 is back in the book. It being offered dependent upon the numbers, where we have some ideas of ways that can be structured to meet those needs if the numbers are there for those students. And so those are the main changes that you'll see in the registration booklet. And as far as the registration process, I'm going to let Mr. Branzer talk about that.
Good evening. We are planning for an invitation out to parents to join us on the evening of January 25th. We want to catch them just after work, invite them into the high school building. Those would be the parents of our current 9, 10, and 11 grade students, primarily to cover any questions that they have, but also talk about some of these course changes that we're planning for the next couple of years. Also to answer questions that come mostly in the form of dual credit and advanced placement. Answer any questions that they have. And then after that time, we will begin with our registration process, which begins traditionally by allowing our students to register and sign up for our Northeast Tech High School classes. Those electives, we like to get those solidified first. We have a certain number of spaces that we can use. Our counselors will then begin meeting with our students in small groups and helping students individually through the end of January and throughout February to get signed up for courses that they think will best fit them and their needs as they move toward graduation and what they want to do as far as work plans or post-secondary education in years following. And then we'll get together with our parents of our 8th graders separately in early to mid-February and visit with those parents to introduce them to the 4x4 block schedule, what a skinny class means, and go through them with the most notable classes that we have reserved for our freshman students. Any questions?
Sure. Good evening, Mrs. Walker and Mr. Branzard. Course registration booklet. Can you just explain, there's a couple of terms I'm not clear on. Page 3, it's the number of credits required for graduation. Next to world language, there's capstone and CTE course. Can you explain what those are?
Sure. The state of South Dakota requires either a world language, a capstone, or a career technical education course. There's one credit that's required of any of those three. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but most of our students will fulfill that requirement through a world language,
Yeah.
coming and taking Spanish or German. Many of our students are also enrolled and pick up a number of career technical ed classes, usually at the Northeast Tech High School, but also capstone classes like the classroom internship or the library internship that you saw on the board tonight are other ways that kids can capture that 1 credit.
Thank you. Then moving on, there's something that could be corrected this spring, could be tackled immediately, and that has to do with class sizes. It's my concern at both the middle school and the high school. I went through the high school schedule. 153 classes I counted, sections that are, I would consider oversized. 153. If you look at the scheduling printout, this has got teacher, class, class size. There's a column I highlighted right here in yellow. And it's for maximum, it looks like it's a parameter or a variable that could be plugged right into the computer program to change what is expected for class size. Say if we plugged in 25 as the max, certainly would help alleviate several problems. So I think that's something that could be done. And then a follow-up to that, if the computer should not balance class sizes adequately, then it could be done by hand, by a person actually going in and moving students. And if that doesn't work, if we still have some outsized classes, then we either need to reassign staff or hire teachers. So I think that could be done this spring immediately. And then a follow-up. I spent 25 years teaching at the high school, so I've watched the curriculum over the years. We've worked together for a number of years. Block scheduling. We've never ever really discussed, tackled, looked in depth to what it's done to the school. If you look at the course booklet here, on page 45, just an example, there's regular world history and accelerated world history. Regular world history is a half credit, 9 weeks, and it covers the Renaissance to World War II. Accelerated world history covers ancient civilization to World War II. So what block scheduling has done is it's compressed the amount of knowledge that's been taught, and for our regular classes, we've actually taken even more knowledge out. We expected less out of those classes. That's a concern. It's also the same thing that's done in world geography, and I could go through a lot of core classes that does the same thing. Fewer countries, fewer continents studied, time periods, and so on. The other thing that block scheduling does is if a student takes math, let's say as a freshman, in the fall of their freshman year, they might not have the follow-up math class until the spring, could be over a year later. Could be the spring of a whole next year, much later. Many, many months between a first step in a course, the second step, and so on. And that's true of all the core courses, including foreign language. I think that's one of the contributing factors to some years we struggle with our test scores below schools that are non-block. And I think that's a pertinent issue that should be looked at. So I've not been a fan of block scheduling. I was in the classroom when it occurred. I know what I had to compress, what I had to take out, and I think it's done a great deal of damage. It just eliminates a great core of knowledge that I think students need. Are there other comments or questions?
I guess I would, I got to, what was the date for the parents of the high school kids?
That would be January 25, Mr. Hardy. 5:30 is what we're looking at in the D.D. Miller. Mass will be required, and we'll do some social distancing in there. So we'll get that advertised. We'll get that out.
Okay, great. And I agree with Ms. Moulton as far as the block scheduling. I've been promoting skinnies for math and foreign language for the last couple of years. And I think it's something the board should take a serious look at to project what we want the school to be as far as a learning environment, whether we want to continue on with block scheduling or if we want to go some kind of hybrid with skinnies and block scheduling where it makes sense. But I am of a mind that you don't teach math as a freshman and then take the second course as a sophomore and you leave it for a year. There's just too much time there for you to lose that knowledge. And I guess that's my comment regarding that.
I would back that up, say that's true of all the core courses. History, English, science, world languages. Yeah, it's detrimental to all of them.
Are there any other comments or questions? I will respond by just saying or add that we are planning to have a retreat or a goal-setting session, and so that there will be time to talk and discuss and look at trends and see what is best for the kids in the school. So, thank you.
The one thing I would add from an administrative perspective, if we are looking at class sizes being lowered at any level, that would be a budgeting issue as far as anytime you look at your cutoffs, you would have to lower them. So, and even at the elementary, some of we look at sizes of sometimes 26, and so if we were to look at middle school, high school, I think it would be, if that is a board wish at some point, from a budgeting standpoint, we would have to have some time to look at how we would accomplish that, because you are going to have to add staff if you lower your class sizes.
That's partially true, but also if you change that one column parameter within the scheduling program, that's going to take care of part of it, because we've got totally unbalanced sections now. So that will...
Yeah, I understand what you mean at the
Yep.
high school.
Yep. No, we agree.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Moving on to action items for 4.4, 6.1, approval of the bills. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. I skipped something. Let's talk about 5.5, return to learn update.
Thank you. So this has been quite a year. We started it pretty much March 13th with what I'll call an alternative learning platform where we went online, finished the fourth quarter of the 19-20 school year, and then we spent a great deal of time and effort to get ready for this current school year, 2021. And one of the pieces that we included in that was an online option for our families. So when we started the year, we sent out in July, we asked people to commit to either in person or online, and those numbers have fluctuated from a high in the 270s to under 200, and now we've landed somewhere around 220 to 230, depending on the day, of Watertown students who are currently online. I want to express a hearty thank you to our staff and our learners as they have participated in this. I think that, the way we initiated our educators to work with our online learners, kind of a voluntold system where we have tried to look at what we had in place and figure out the best use of our current staff, because we did not receive any additional funding in order to run an online school this year. So we tried to look at our existing staff, and we've had a group of troopers who have done that. So we really appreciate that. We also appreciate the efforts of the learners and the families as they've adapted to really what amounts to be, we're almost on 1 calendar year of being away from school. So what I am bringing up for discussion tonight is the idea of returning our online learners to in-person school for the fourth quarter of this school year. So what we would look at is in the next month, from our January meeting to our February meeting, putting together some parameters so that we would have the majority of our online learners return to in-person school and attend the fourth quarter. We would offer some exceptions to that for those who have some sort of underlying medical condition by the learner, of which they were able to provide documentation of that they would still be offered what we would call homebound digital instruction. We would also look at the idea of if there is someone in their household who has an underlying medical condition that would require the student to stay home. That would be another option we would look at. And then as there also is another group of people who have some real anxiety, fears about the COVID-19 situation, and we would offer that as an opportunity with some caveats. And in all instances, this is just the discussion part, we would like to see the students and the families commit to no activities or contacts outside the home, meaning the remaining digital homebound instructions or homebound digital instruction students would not be eligible to participate in our activities, and we would ask them to refrain from any other outside activities. And then the other caveat we would want to have up for discussion is that if there is a group that is not necessarily have a medical rationale for their homebound instruction, that they have demonstrated high achievement in the format. So meaning they would have been in this for 3 quarters and they have been successful at it. That would be another thing that we would offer up. And this is kind of an initial grasp at trying to put something together. One of the reasons that I wanted it on for discussion right now is it allows for a full 2 months prior to asking anyone to return. My thought with how this could proceed, if you are in agreement to bring this back for presentation and an action item in February, would be to work on the logistics of this formatting. This will no doubt probably, the word will come out after this evening's. We can put something out to our staff and our families about the proposal, bring it back for an action item in February, and that would actually give us 6 weeks from February 8th until the fourth quarter starts on March 22nd in order to make the contacts with families, find out what their situation remains, and do some of the diligence that needs to be done in order to assimilate those students back into our classrooms. From a logistical standpoint, all of those students did assume a spot. So an easier one is like an elementary classroom, but all of our online students had a spot in a homeroom. And we did that from, when we talk about class sizes, we did that in order to, we did not know when they might come back. We did have families throughout the year choose to return that started. We had some who started in person and left, but we left them with a spot in their classrooms or in a homeroom. So there would be availability. And then if we did this at the quarter break at the high school level, it would be a matter of preparing schedules for them with the knowledge that we would have them coming back in fourth quarter. So that is what I have for Return to Learn update. I would be happy to answer any questions you might have or thoughts you might have about that particular proposal.
Any questions, comments?
I guess I have a couple of comments. One is, I think the best place for kids to learn is in the school system and not at home unless they're set up for that type of learning. Also, you're on the COVID task force, right? If there was parents that had underlying conditions, maybe through the task force or some way we could move them up the line to get a vaccination, and that would facilitate the kids being able to go to school. Also, another consideration is if you're like me and you still have kids in junior high and you're in the age group that is above 65, you're susceptible. So there's that group also.
Man, thank you. I was going to give a little bit of that in my update, but since you brought up the vaccination, the other thing that waiting until fourth quarter does in South Dakota for the expected vaccine availability, there is before the general population gets it, there are phase 1 includes a 1A, 1B, 1C, and 1D. Currently, 1A was your frontline healthcare workers. They have received the vaccination and probably are on the second dose this week. 1B was our long-term care residents. They have received their first dose and would be in line to get their second dose. Currently in South Dakota, we are in 1C, which is our emergency medical services and our public health workers, and then our law enforcement and correctional officers. And once 1C is finished, we would move into 1D. And 1D is where you're talking there, Mr. Hardy. 1D is persons with 2 or more underlying medical conditions, persons aged 65 years and older, residents in congregate settings. So that would be like an HSA facility, something like that. Teachers and other school or college staff, so all of our staff at both the K-12 side and Lake area, and then funeral service workers. But what we've been told is there will be a rank order in there, so starting with probably the groups that need it the most. So if you think about this, probably your persons with 2 or more underlying medical conditions, persons age 65 years or older, and then we would maybe be in line with funeral service workers, residents in congregate settings, and then our staff. So my understanding is we would be looking around February 1st when that Group D would begin. So it's highly likely that the people that we're talking about, as well as our staff, would also have the opportunity to at least have round 1 of the vaccination should they choose to receive that. So I think that's a valid point.
Thank you for that information. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Now we'll move on to action items for 14.4, and 6.1 is approval of the bills.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills.
Thank you. We've got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. I've got a motion and a second. Are there any comments or questions? Okay. All those in favor of approving the bills?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the bills have been paid. Item 6.2, personnel. 6.2.1, resignations. Mr. Stacy.
Yes, we have 3 classified positions, and then we do have a certified position, and I'll let Dr. Danielson take that.
With regards to the certified position, typically during a contractual agreement, the contract year, there is a $3,000 penalty assessed. In this instance, the individual who is resigning is a half-time instructor. They are also willing to finish their extra duty assignments. Therefore, we would recommend that penalty be assessed in half So 1,500 of the 3,000. That would be approving these resignations would be, with that, I would, if you choose that as that recommendation.
In other words, approving this is assessing a 50% penalty,
Per the.
as stated.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the contract recommendations as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Stein. Is there a second?
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Are there any comments or questions? All right, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item 6.2.1 has been approved. Item 6.2.2, contract recommendations and addendums.
Yes, we have an activity position, a classified position, a lane change, and then people for teaching dual credit and online learning.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Are there any comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item 6.2.2 has been approved. Item 6.2.3, stipend requests.
Yes, we have two people requesting for stipends.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the stipends.
Second.
Thank you. Motion and a second have been made. Any comments or questions? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, stipend requests have been met.
Thank you.
Item 6.3, property. 6.3.1, consider the furniture bids.
Office Peeps was the sole bidder in relation to the supplying and installing of furniture for Phase 1 of the high school remodel project. It is recommended to approve the bid totaling $42,498.16.
Is there a motion to approve 6.3.1?
I move approval of the furniture bids as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Are there any comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item 6.3.1 has been approved. Item 6.4, authorized driver's education fees for 2021.
Yes, before we look at, give you the recommendation for the fee, I would just like to simply talk about our driver's education program. This will also be in the registration book, the high school registration book. But the program, as it is, the South Dakota state law requires 30 hours of classroom instruction. Now, in the past, we have done those 30 hours of classroom instruction in 2-week format. And so we are changing that to be done in 4 days. And so a little bit longer days, but less time for our families to schedule around. And at the same time, there's 6 hours of driving instruction that needs to occur. And in the past, because we would fill the students up with instruction, then there was tight window of time for the driving. So then the driving was scheduled for the families and the student ahead of time. This way, by tightening up the instruction time, we can have our drivers work with the families to schedule the driving, the 6 hours of driving, so it's more convenient with the daily lives of those families in the summertime. We are looking at this time, we are planning on having driver's education in June in person at the middle school. And of course, subject to change at any time. The other thing to keep in mind is South Dakota state law at this time requires all drivers under the age of 16 to drive with a licensed adult for 180 days. But if you successfully pass driver's education with the school, then you will receive a waiver for 90 days. That actually changes effective July 1st to 2021. So that then ups the driving with a licensed adult to 275 hours unless the student passes driver's ed, and then the waiver is 180 days. 180 days, yes. So, and then also to keep in mind the fees now, we are going to recommend the same fee we've had since 2018 at $320 for a student to participate in driver's education. And Watertown Aero Education Foundation has agreed to pay half of that for those students or families that qualify for free and reduced meals. So our recommendation is $320.
Thank you. And if people in the community have any further questions, who do they contact?
Well, they can contact myself. They can contact the middle school or the high school, because the registration, that can be picked up at the middle school or high school.
At any time at this point?
Is that correct?
What did it say, it starts in April?
I think it starts. Available. Yes.
Available after March 1st.
Yes, March 1st. And then when we'll ask for the registration and the payment to be submitted to the high school principal's office. That way, that's where the fees will be collected. Okay.
Okay, so after March 1st, the application and registration is available. Contact the middle school or the high school, otherwise payment and the form go to the high school to finish the whole process.
That is correct.
Okay?
Okay.
The law will be
After March
changing.
1st.
Yes, after March 1st, and the
Yeah.
law changes coming this July. So there's other implications on driving.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Darrell, one quick question. Is there a limit to the number of people that can get in the program?
Well, at this time, yes, we take 120 students. Oh, and the other factor to keep in mind is this is for students turning 14 on September 1st of 2021 or before.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
So a revised program, shorter duration as far as simplifying the week. Lots of new information for that.
Yep.
Okay, do we have a motion for authorizing driver's education fees for 2021?
Move to approve the $320 fee.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Second. Got a motion and a second. Are there any further comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, item 6.4 has been approved. Item 6.5, student enrollment requests. 6.5.1, open enrollment.
Yes, we have 3 open enrollments that we recommend for your approval.
Is there a motion?
So moved?
A second? Thank you. We've got a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, item 6.5.2, the 132810s.
Yeah, yes, we have 2 132810s, and we are also recommending those for your approval.
Okay, is there a motion? Thank you, Ms. Moulton. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? All right, is there, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item 6.5.2 has been approved. Moving on to 7.0, communications. 7.1, the administrative reports. And I guess we'll just turn it over to you, Dr. Danielson.
Yeah, just give a quick update on our COVID numbers. No notifications were sent out today, so those are always good days. So as of the end of last week, we had 9 students out positive and another 52 out on close contacts. That's a total of 332 positives for the year and 2,457 close contacts. Positive on staff, we had 2 positive out at the end of the week and 2 close contacts, and we've had 107 positives within staff and 110 close contacts within staff. So coming back off the break, our numbers have remained low at least through 6 days of school, so we're happy about that. And the other, I was gonna talk about the vaccination update, but I think I will leave that to bed for now, since we got to talk about it during the other.
All right. And then 7.2, is there any board report to superintendent? All right. Item 8.0 is, item 8.1 is moving into executive session to consider a conflict of interest. There will be action taken on that. So we will come back out of that executive session, have action, and then we go back into executive session for the superintendent evaluation. Is there a motion to move into executive session?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Moulton. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hardy. All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, we're in executive session. Thank you for attending tonight.